How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Gangi. Welcome to another episode of Tech Talk. Guys, we have a very interesting discussion coming our way. It's going to be about prison management. Has prison management got this all wrong? Are they losing their sense of focus? Are we focusing on the wrong things? I think it's going to be a great dialogue because I know it's something that Frontline is looking to get out there because it's actually something that was requested of me to do. So I think it's going to be a great dialogue. Before I introduce our guests, I just like to talk about our three sponsors real quick. We have American Military University. If you guys are looking to seek higher education, go back to school and get that degree, bring some more experience into the classroom, please check out American Military University. They're very supportive of what we do in corrections, supportive of what we do on Tier Talk. We also have Guardian RFID, from inmate tracking and cell checks to cloud-based business and artificial intelligence. Guardian RFID digitally transforms jails, prisons, and juvenile detention facilities of every size. Visit guardianrfid.com for more information. And guys, if you get a chance, check out their YouTube channel. We also put content up there as well. So there's a lot of good information that's available on their YouTube channel. And we also have Shea USA. Now, Shea is spelled C-E-I-A. Shea USA. Now, Shea USA is the world's leading weapon, cell phone, and contraband detection system manufacturer for corrections. If you guys get a chance, check out their website. They got great stuff, metal detector, hand wands. For more information, contact Joe Vasquez at 440-561-7615. He's a subject matter expert. He's passionate about our industry, and he will take good care of you. And guys, don't forget, Inmate Manipulation Decoded is in description. Well, the link, sorry, the book itself is not in the description. That wouldn't be a good idea on my end. The link to the book, if you want to get it on Amazon, is in the description. Okay, my guest for today is Gary York. What's up, Gary?
Hello, Anthony. How you doing? Thank you for having me on the show tonight. I appreciate it, and it's an important topic, and it's going to be a very interesting topic.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great dialogue. And Gary, do you mind introducing yourself to our audience?
I'm Gary York. I'm the author of The Toughest Job, and that's my newest book. And of course, it talks about corrections and why it's the toughest job, and it gives numerous examples of the things that officers have to go through from real life incidents and so forth. I also have a YouTube channel called True Prison Stories. I tell the good, the bad, and the ugly. So if an officer does a good thing, I tell those stories. If something bad happens, I tell those stories. And we just try to get the truth out there, but it's all for the good, for hopefully I'm educating and informing. Okay, that's what the purpose of my YouTube is for, to get the things out there so we can try to fix things that are wrong and continue improving on things that are going great.
And guys, we can learn from the failures and mistakes of others. So it's very good content that Gary does have on his channel. Now, guys, I'm going to read you something that's coming from my book that's going to be published next year. I'm working on it, guys. A lot of work, but I am ahead of schedule. I believe it's a daily reader. So I've just been putting thoughts in a day. I started around mid-January, so putting about 300 or 400 words a day into the book. And then I have someone from the profession put about 2 or 3 sentences to complement what's in context above. And guys, I got quotes from industry experts besides the people on our channel. I got quotes from high level executive positions. I also have it from the front line. So it's very balanced. It's really dependent on what the topic is. But I want to read something, guys, that's going to relate to the topic we're talking about today. It's called Prison Management Has Got This All Wrong. Now, Gary has not read what I'm going to read, but I think that this will center the dialogue real quick, and then this will kind of give us a little something to work off of. So again, next year this book will be out, but if you're interested in this piece of the article or in this piece of the book, it's going to be dated April 18th, and it's going to be titled, As a Leader, Direct Your Attention and Focus. So here it is, guys. It is a must for all leaders to have a true understanding of where they want to be headed. For them, this requires to look inwards at their efforts and their attempt to focus and maintain attention to the highest level of what is meaningful and, of course, mission critical for the agency. After their efforts have been established and realized, a true leader can now be able to direct the focus and attention of those in their charge towards meaningful actions. If the above is not done, if a leader's focus is limited and their attention tends to waver, their front line will eventually become lost and, more importantly, ineffective. In my experience, leaders may begin to lose focus and attention when external pressures make an attempt to switch the agency's priorities. Now, for a weak leader, in their eyes, external pressures, whether through leverage or politics, have a way of changing what is considered meaningful and mission critical. Now, be mindful. If you are in a leadership position, be very careful shifting the higher level tiers of what is seen and felt as mission critical priorities. These higher level mission critical tiers are not really meant to be moved or shifted. These higher level tiers are in place because it has been determined to be the best means at being the most effective. For us in corrections, these higher level mission critical tiers usually relate to the safety and security of the prison or the jail. Remember, great leadership keeps their focus and attention on the highest tier of priorities on what is mission critical, and they never allow for the important. Now remember, guys, the important is what has the impact to be sacrificed over the urgent, which is usually external, controlled by some deadline. Their effort to remain focused and attentive on what is meaningful and mission critical, that's where the greatest impact is, will give direction to those in their charge to do the same. If the leader allows no fight when there are attempts from external pressures to shift or move priorities, they will find themselves in charge of a team that has no direction, no cause, no purpose, and most importantly, inconsistent to the true needs of the facility. Now, that is quoted by me. Now, underneath it, I'll have a quote from someone in the field who adds to that. So this is the quote from Todd Ishii. He's the prison commissioner from North Carolina, and he gave me this quote. It seems that while so many details of the way we do our job in corrections change, our highest priority simply cannot. We can allow ourselves to be flexible, to accommodate new information, or to respond to new challenges, but the leader's role isn't to change directions each time we feel pressure. It is to keep the agency moving forward towards ultimate vision. So there's a lot there, Gary, but from the first time hearing that, what's your thoughts?
Well, the way I see it is, safety and security is always in the forefront. It's always number one. And the agency's vision has to be seen by every leader. But every leader also has to be able to adjust when pressures are placed upon us. In other words, when COVID came in, right? COVID was a great example. COVID put a lot of stress and pressure on managers and officers as well. We still had to maintain the goal of safety and security and have our vision of getting the job complete and everything that we need to do. But we also now had to change gears a bit and do it a little bit differently with the COVID measures. And I'm using COVID as one example of an external factor that has now shifted our mission, but not our vision.
Yeah, I agree. So basically what happens here, guys, is we know that corrections is evolving, right? So with that said, we have to remember that there are certain things, guys, that we at the highest position, we have to be mindful that there are certain things that we cannot sacrifice in this evolution. Okay, so let me just make sure. Someone's texting me. I want to make sure that the text doesn't, there it goes. I want to make sure the text doesn't keep going off. It messes with my train of thought. So we have to make sure that we don't sacrifice what we consider mission critical. Now, for me, automatically, what do I consider mission critical? Anything that deals with our safety and security, 100%. Anything that deals with our safety and security is mission critical. That means that if someone wants to implement an idea, if somebody wants to try something new, or maybe try to push something, usually from the outside coming in, that they have to make sure that whatever they try to do fits into the parameters of what is a safe and secured running facility. Now the problem is, in the article, what I wrote in the quote is that sometimes external pressures can get those in higher positions to shift their perspective. And the problem is, guys, if you're in those highest positions, You have to realize the number one thing for any prison or jail is safety and security. And you cannot allow external perspective or external pressures to shift that, which means that can never come secondary, because these are the things that are mission critical. That's why I mentioned the important versus the urgent. So what do you have? The important is what creates the biggest impact. That's what I consider important. So anything that's internal that if you shift can really impact the facility, that is a priority. Now, if someone comes in with this external pressure and tries to push something urgent, and that's coming from the outside, well, the problem is urgent should never, ever outweigh the important, because the last thing you want to do is sacrifice the important for something superficial in the long run. So with that said, I think that as leaders, we have to remember for right now that the priority is safety and security. That is mission critical. If there's any time where someone comes along where you feel that they're trying to get you to swap that out, you have to fight for that. You have to say, hey, I'm not shifting on that. You know, we could try to make things work within that parameter, but if we can't fit this into our safe and secured runnings, then guess what? This can't work in this world, because now you're messing with what we need to do to run a fully operational facility. So Gary, I think that's kind of been a big thing lately. I think that they're trying to implement a lot of soft changes in correction. Now, hear me out. It's funny I'm saying soft changes because these soft changes have a hard impact in corrections. But I have a feeling that right now that people are trying to implement soft changes, and the people at the highest level, they start caving into that external pressure. And the problem is they start sacrificing what's important for what they deem to be urgent. And I think we have to just kind of understand what the difference is between important and urgent, and how if we sacrifice the important over the urgent, it kind of puts our facilities at risk. Would you agree?
Well, you mentioned right off the bat up front politics. I heard the word politics in your synopsis. Now, we cannot cave in to some of the political demands from the outside. We have a lot of organizations on the outside telling us not to use segregation, not to use certain tools we have to protect others, to protect inmates from deadly inmates, to protect officers and prison staff from some of the deadly inmates. And if management caves in to a lot of the political demands or outside demands and says, you will do this, we're going to change this now. If we totally cave into that, we are opening up a can of worms. We're making it harder for officers to do their job. We're making it more dangerous for officers to do their job, because if you start taking this tool away from the officers and start taking that tool away, what are you doing? You're opening up an undisciplined group. You're making it easier for inmates to attack officers. You're making it easier for inmates to say, I don't have to do this anymore. Management said, we're not doing that anymore. You know, they'll use every verbal thing they can use against you, and then it'll turn physically against you. So there's your safety and security issue right there. Our number one priority is being placed in jeopardy because we're caving in to outside political pressures.
Yeah, and guys, I'm going to be honest with you. Whatever the public sees as mission critical, it doesn't matter. It's what we see as mission critical. So we have to remember that whatever the public sees on their mind, it's not mission critical. It's not important. Maybe it's urgent. I get it. We'll figure it out. But having said that, all because they believe it's mission critical doesn't mean it is. It's what we feel it should be. And again, that's, again, the higher echelon, the upper echelon, in knowing and understanding what it takes to work in a correctional facility. So obviously you got to have the dialogue with the front line, and you're going to know that everything we do has to be defined within those parameters of safety and security. So when you get the public pushing for what they feel is mission critical, we have to go ahead and explain to them, hey, we get what you mean, but what you're trying to do may not work in a prison setting. I get the intent. It's a great intent, but you're putting it into a world that can misuse it. So with that said, if there's a chance that they can misuse it in a way that threatens the running of a facility, then we have to stand up and say, hey, guys, this ain't going to work. This is going to mess with our most important need, which, again, is safety and security. That's mission critical. I mean, I can't emphasize that enough. That's why we're having the dialogue here. Mission critical can never be substituted for what's meaningful. You know, I get it. It's a great intent. I get it's meaningful. Sure, it's going to work. Maybe, but it's going to work within these parameters. It's going to work as long as we can get this within this. If we cannot get it within this, if we cannot fit the meaningful into what's mission critical, more importantly, if what's meaningful conflicts with mission critical, what's meaningful ain't going to work at this point. At least not now. And I will say from the frontline perspective, when we're going to defend our position, so unions or whatever it is, and we're trying to defend the tools that we use, like, you know, solitary. Well, I don't like using the word solitary because we know it's not solitary. So restorative housing, some levels of isolated confinement. Yes. You know, again, measures to remove the threat for a moment. Not saying the threat is forgotten, but let me get the threat here for now so I can run the facility at a normal pace, and then we'll still tend to this person. But when we go to defend it, we do have to defend it from the perspective of what the public sees as mission critical. I want you guys to know that. So even though we're going to fight for what we need to do, when we defend it to the public, we have to speak their language. So what we got to do is we have to defend it from, hey, I know that you're concerned about rehabilitation, but be advised, even though you may see our measures as punitive, let me tell you the things that we're doing outside of holding inmates accountable. We are programming them. We're getting them education. So the whole time they're removed from this area of the facility, we are providing them with more intense programming. So having said that, we have a balance between what we feel is mission critical and with the public to some level meaningful. But with that said, guys, if we don't sit there and we don't find a way to hold on to those core values, what's mission critical, we're going to lose them. So management has to really step up and understand where that balance is. And they're going to have to never, never, never exchange that for something that doesn't fit. Now, guys, rehabilitation does fit into safety and security. It does. It does. But let's not forget that safety security is the foundation. For the people that are trying to implement that and removing the base, which is safety and security, and making that totally rehabilitation, that's when we need to come up and say, yo, that's not going to work. Because right now, mission critical is this, this, and this, safety and security and running a facility. And right now, everything you're doing conflicts with what we need to do to be effective. What's your thoughts on that balance, Gary?
Well, you have to show the outsiders who are pushing for changes in the prison system. You have to show them the big picture. And you have to explain to them every detail. You have to explain why we do feeding this way. Why, when an inmate threatens to harm an officer or threatens to harm another inmate, why do we discipline them in this manner? So you have to show the big picture. That's part of being a leader. That's part of management. Explain the big picture and let them know why we do the things we do. And then let that fall back on safety and security, and let the public know that when we talk safety and security, no, we're not talking about just our officers and our civilian prison staff. We're talking about the inmates as well. Safety and security for everyone behind the wall. And then one thing that always gets me, I've been seeing a lot of people from politicians wanting to go tour, movie stars wanting to go tour a prison because they want to make changes. But they're taking these folks into an empty dorm or one of the most minimum custody dorms available. I am a big believer, if they want to help make change and they seriously want to work with management, they need to go deep into the underbelly of the jail or the prison they're visiting and go see the real deal. Don't just walk them into the first available dorm, the easiest dorm, the emptiest dorm, and let them look around and say, okay, I saw your jail, I saw your prison. That's not showing them the big picture. They can educate us, and we should listen, but let's educate them and let's give them the real deal when we do this.
Yeah, and I want to mention something, guys. So when you have the outside world pressuring us or the higher level management to implement something, there's a difference between promise and commitment. So, you could make a promise, and if it doesn't work, the problem is people are very outcome driven. So they're going to hold you to this, and then you're going to make all this effort, and then if you don't get it right, you're seen as a failure. You're seen as less credible, again, because you're dealing with the public that could be very outcome driven. But we should teach them to be effort driven. So when people come in and say, hey, we got to try this, I'll come up and say, hey, I'm committed. I'll give it a shot. I'm committed. Can't make any promises, but I'm committed to try my best to make this happen. Exhausted effort, I'm going to try my best. But if it doesn't happen, I never made a promise it could. I only made a commitment that I will commit to the effort to see if I can make this happen. So at the end of the day, when you have this society that's very outcome driven, maybe we need to change them to say, hey, listen, we're not making promises. In corrections, this world is so unpredictable, we can't make promises. One day something may work, the next day it won't, and then it's all downhill from there. But we can make a commitment. You can come to us knowing that if you want to implement something, we'll give it the best faith effort. I'll talk to my people. We'll see what we can do. And then we'll come back and we'll tell you if it's doable or not. Trust in the commitment. But again, if I'm making false promises, because I would love if people they go to implement something, I would love for them to ask, well, how are you planning on doing this? And that's when you see the people that make the promises, they don't know how. The moment you go to ask them, hey, how are you going to get this into this world? Oh, I'll get it done. How? We want to know how. I don't want to promise. I want to know how. Because at the end of the day, this person with this promise is going to go to the table, and everybody at the table, they're going to ask how. They're going to ask how. But now this person's like, well, I can't. I have to do something, guys, because I made a promise. And that's when you go back and say, well, how could you promise that? Do you have any idea what it is to work in a prison, to do what you just said you were going to do? It can't happen. So why did you make a promise? So this isn't about what's best for the facility anymore. It's about what's best for this person so they can save face. At the end of the day, do us a favor. When someone comes up to you and says, hey, can you do this? Say, I'm committed. I'll make an effort. I'll see if I can get it done. But if I can't, just know I tried. And then when you go back to the table, you can truly listen. Hey, guys, can we get this done? Yes or no? Well, we could try, but blah, blah, blah. But at this time, we probably can't do it. Not a problem. I'll let them know we tried. Just give me some specifics as to why it can't be done. What's wrong with that? Commitment versus promise. Again, it's not our fault. We're working in we have this world outside that's very outcome driven. They want outcome. It's like, guys, it's in this world, how about you appreciate the effort? What's your thoughts on that promise versus commitment in this world where they actually accept false promises without even understanding how it can be carried out?
Prison managers should never promise anything to the politicians or the outside world without, and I don't like promises anyway, without saying what you just said a minute ago. I'm going to review it, and then after it's reviewed, just be honest. I can do that, and this is how, or I can't do it. I'm sorry. If I do that, then I am jeopardizing the safety and security of my officers, the inmates, the civilian staff, whatever the case may be. But don't give empty promises. We did a video, you and I think it was 2 weeks ago, on commitment versus promise. Promises, promises. Yeah. Promises are worth nothing. If you commit by saying, I don't know if we can do this. I'm not going to tell you we can do this, but I will try and see if it can work within our system and still be done and still have safety and security. Be upfront, because the first time you promise something and don't come through with it, now you're going to be scrutinized by the outside world. If you're a high enough manager, you'll be scrutinized in the newspaper and in the news media as a manager of a prison system that promised something and did not come through with it. Don't do it. Don't promise.
Yeah, and the sad thing is, guys, there are some people that don't know that difference. So you could be a great prison manager, but start making promises, and people hold you to those as opposed to making the commitment. Hey, Gary, anything you like to add in closing? I thought it was a good topic, real quick, good discussion.
No, I just think that it was a great topic that you wanted to discuss tonight. Thank you for having me. And I think that we have to know from the front line up to the top that there are outside pressures that will always be after the prison systems and the jails to make change. That does not mean that change is bad. We can make some of those changes, but the outside has to realize what we do. And I think there's lies the problem. I don't think that most of the outside really understands our job at all. So we have to teach them what we do. But I also agree we must work with them. We must work together. I have no problem with working with the outside and trying to make change, but it has to be change that fits the mold and keeps everyone safe and secure.
What's mission critical? Again, guys, we know we're evolving, but it doesn't mean that we have to sacrifice what's mission critical, which is always going to be safety and security. Remember, guys, the moment we sacrifice what's mission critical, it makes the officers wonder what their value is, because the officers are involved in that mission critical. You know, the moment we start thinking that's not that important, then what are you saying about the officers to do the job? That's why they're so defensive. You start replacing mission critical with something a little bit softer instead of looking for a balance. The officers start wondering why they're even in this world. So again, I think it was a very good dialogue. Hey, real quick, someone just texted me this picture. I thought this would be an interesting picture to share. Stand by, Gary. Tell me what you think of this. So let me get it to me. It's a picture of Bob Saget, Louis Anderson, and Gilbert Gottfried. As of recording this, Gilbert Gottfried had passed away at age 67. Louis Anderson passed away about a year or two ago, and then Bob Saget just recently as well. So it's pretty unique to see the picture with all three of the gentlemen together. By the way, three gentlemen that never made a promise they would make us laugh, but were committed to making us laugh. Kind of roundabout, full circle.
Exactly.
As always, guys, the show is tipped off. If you haven't, please subscribe, interact, engage, comment, hit that bell. Bell's going to notify you every time I post a video. Stay safe.